Hi, Ollie.
Hi, hi Helen, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I've just remembered that we said that we would bring something funny to the beginning of each of these chats. And
Mm,
we've been so busy and we've had some tech difficulties with that Mercury retro in Sag on my sun. That's escaped me, but from next week I will try and remember to do that again. Just try and bring you something funny from the week. So you get a flavour of the week that's been, I think.
mm.
But we're going to talk
Yeah,
about astrology and hope today.
yeah, today we're going to talk about astrology and hope. And well, I think the first one of the main ideas that could be related to this topic is that obviously we can use astrology to read the weather. It's like a weather report. So it's
Yeah.
about reading our lives, our experiences, and I think that would be well, astrology is offering us the first hope or the main hope because it gives so much information about what is going on, what is going to happen,
Mm.
and our experiences. So, what do you think about this, about the idea of comparing it to the weather report?
I think that's perfect analogy, really. I mean, I write a fun. It's not serious astrology. It's just a fun like weekend astro um, column on Substack. It's really, really light touch, but it's like a weekend weather report. Obviously, I'm not relating that to people's charts, but I've actually written in the column today. You can see how powerful astrology is once you can apply the weather report, which is what the planets are doing at the moment in the sky. And I'm using my, little ephemeris to
Mm,
work that out. They're the flavors, aren't they? They're the influences around us. But I'm not relating this to a specific chart, which is why it can't be serious astrology. But it is giving us a weather report for the weekend of the energies that are around. And of course, if you know your own chart, you can see where that's going to, or other people's charts, you can see where that's going to tap into that. Um, so I think it definitely gives us the prediction. We talk about forecasting in astrology, we talk about prediction. Um, but does that weather report always give us hope? Or might it make us think, oh,
yeah, obviously, not all transits are easy,
mm-hmm,
but I think that it's like the weather report when it's announcing uh, showers, thunderstorms, snows. You get
yeah,
ready for what is to come. So somehow you know what is going to happen, what you can expect from that period, and you can prepare yourself for the energy
mm-hmm,
and understand what is going to happen. So and then I also experience astrology as there's a purpose behind it. So it's not
mm,
just because it happened because is it was an accident. No, there's a purpose, there's a story, there's some meaning behind it, and you obviously you can learn from it. You can get ready. You can experience it in a conscious way. So for me, that's why I think there's hope in astrology
mm-hmm, yeah,
because obviously you are learning, you're experiencing. It's like your journey, and each experience is doing something or is affecting you somehow, but in the sense that it's going to lead you somewhere, and you need to experience that
yeah,
because you're learning from that experience, and maybe that is necessary for you to change. Otherwise, many people don't make a movement or don't have experiences, don't try new jobs, so they don't fall in love. And it's necessary for everything, no?
mm,
For
yeah, for
discovering the
growth. Yeah,
shadows and the lights. And
yeah,
so for me there's hope, but obviously it's not everything is bright. And you need to know that there's some dark news as well. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that explains the forecasting really, really well. I agree with you. But when you said about the snow and the rain and it made me think quite literally across. So what transit might represent a hailstorm, for example,
Mm,
or what might be, a soft summer breeze. I mean, in the chart anyway, I think there's some sort of general significators that are associated with hope, like the 11th house can be hopes and wishes, and obviously Jupiter is associated with hopefulness. But I like what you've said there, because normally when we talk about hope, it has very positive connotations. And I like what you said about even with the bad weather, there's hope, because this is important stuff, and you can't grow if you don't go through some of the not necessarily more challenging aspects, but maybe the ones that take a bit more endurance, or you know what I'm talking about, sort of the heavier transits, maybe a Saturn transit or Pluto transit or something like that, that's lasting for a long time. And you can have hope through those, but I think sometimes that hope can be a bit tried. But once you get to the end of it, you realise that there's been a purpose in it. That made me think
mm,
about the argument about free will in astrology as well. And don't have to go too much into this, but we have our maps that are given as our birth charts. We know about the draconic birth chart as well, and loads and loads of other things going on. But there's quite a lot of history and argument and thought and philosophy behind that birth chart, in terms of, is that it then? Is that it set in stone, or do you have free will within those transits? So if you've got a Saturn Mars transit and you're feeling that your energy is really low, do you have the free will to change that? And for me, the answer is very much, and always has been, yes. There's something divine about it, if you want to use that word, and I use it tentatively, because we're in a very deeply philosophical area. But there's something divine about the map. I do feel that it's the moment that I was born. It's very, very special for clients. It's the moment that they were born. It's very, very special. But it's an indication of the tools that you can use to grow, to fulfill the purpose. And that brings in evolutionary astrology and the draconic chart and all the rest of it. So I'm not meaning to unpack everything tonight, but Mercury is starting to maybe just move forwards a bit. so maybe I have a lot of words, but it's, yeah. What would a hailstorm look like if you had to give me an astrological transit for a hailstorm? The metaphor.
um, I would say Uranus,
Mm-hmm.
because it hits you and it's sudden, and then it melts, no? So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I would say Uranus is
yeah.
a more appropriate planet for them.
I think this would be. I
Yes.
mean, this might have been done, but it'd be really fun to do. I'm sure somebody would have done this somewhere. I
Yeah.
just don't know about it. In fact, there are quite a lot of astrological meteorologists. Oh, there certainly used to be back in the day. Um, sort of 300 years ago, predicting the weather with astrology was
Mm,
a big thing, because people were far more dependent on the weather to work, to live, to eat. And the little almanacs that were published were a lot of astrology and the weather. It was very scientific
mm,
at that point. And of course, these days we don't have our weather people using astrology to predict. But I think there are some people out there that still do astro weather kind of thing, and not meaning the psychological weather or emotional weather, but they're meaning they're predicting the weather forecast from the stars. So that it's the other way around. So they're looking at the charts and saying the weather's going to be like this. So see Uranus, there's going to be hailstorms. So I might try and find out a bit about that. I think
mm.
people are doing it. Yeah.
Going back to what you mentioned about the transit or difficult period, it reminded me of one client I had who was about to expect, she came to me when she was about to experience a first Pluto conjunction Sun,
Hmm.
which took almost 3 years. And
Hmm.
immediately after that hit, she had another difficult transit,
Hmm.
Pluto opposing her moon.
Hmm.
So it really helped her to know about these transits because she could understand what
Yeah,
was happening, and it gave her because she was she was really struggling with these transits. She was overwhelmed. She was desperate because somehow she could understand what she was experiencing emotionally, internally, and and the fact that she knew that it was a transit gave
yeah,
her hope that this
yeah,
transit was going to end,
yeah.
and that there was a purpose, and but especially because she told me if I hadn't known about astrology, I would have killed myself. She was exaggerating, obviously, but
Hmm.
it happened because she knows the frame, and she knew that they were going to pass in a couple of months.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And just to hop back to last week for 2 seconds when we were talking about astrology and education, there were so many times when I wish I could have said to many parents that I was talking to, it's okay. This is a phase. It's going to end probably in about 18 months' time. It's because there's a Pluto transit going on, or there's a Saturn transit going on. And obviously, I didn't do that. But I think it would have given people hope just to know that there was an end in sight. Because when you're in the thick of it like that, it can just feel endless. Can I ask what sign the sun was in, and then the sun moon opposition of that Pluto
Sun
transit?
was in Aquarius, the moon was in Leo.
Okay, okay,
The transit hasn't finished yet, so there's still one more year till
yeah,
everything is over.
okay, so yeah, that's very current because we just got
As
Pluto.
for as for this person, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a sun a very early degree of Aquarius.
Yes,
Then
yeah. She
yeah,
was one of the being I told her that she was going to be like privileged because the rest of the people wouldn't have experienced that the Pluto conjunction Aquarius, and she is going to be more experienced, and she will probably be ready to help others because she's quite intuitive in
yeah,
as for her skills, and because she foresees sometimes what is going to happen to others.
hmm,
So with this transit, I can kind of, yes, she's because she will say that the society is going to collapse, is going to be in trouble, and she will be like, "Oh, I have already experienced that. I'm
well,
happy on I'm rooted to myself." Yeah,
when Pluto was in Sagittarius, it went over my Sun, Moon, South Node, and Mercury. So I've had, yeah, not everybody gets this joy, but yeah, it went through Sun, Moon, South Node, and then Mercury. It was, I won't go into it now, but it was a very, very intense time. Really, really intense. It felt very scorpionic, actually, in nature, in terms of its intensity. And it felt a bit relentless. So, obviously, being an astrologer, you know what's going on. So you know that there's a defined endpoint, and you know that the sun will shine again, and tomorrow is another day, and all this kind of stuff. But some of these transits are long because of the movements backwards and forwards, and then it just gets off your sun, and it's going to hit the moon. Pluto on the moon felt quite raw. That would be the word that I would use to describe it. I think Pluto can, it strips away everything, so it leaves you exposed. Um, and I think that's how you feel. You feel a bit raw with it, and that can be quite difficult to come to terms with. But as you said, you you gain strength from that. gain a lot of strength from it. So it's part of the process. So I'm a privileged person. I've had a lot of Pluto transits. Also, born with Pluto in the first house. And it's strange because I attract a lot of people that I read for who've got Pluto strongly placed in their chart.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think okay, because otherwise we were covering the Q&R code and the company logo. That's what I think this is looks but yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And I was thinking also about, have you thought about, because this is an idea that came to my mind about considering where Jupiter falls in a lunar return,
Mm-hmm.
because it could suggest in what area of our lives we are going to experience some hope,
Mm-hmm.
some optimism, some faith, or some kind of opportunities during that period.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about it or have you checked that?
Yeah, yes, for sure. I mean, I think Jupiter's interesting in Hope. I've seen Jupiter manifest really in quite interesting ways. I'll speak about a couple of examples. My own Jupiter is the only planet above the chart, so I've got a bucket
Mhm.
chart. Jupiter's just up there in the 10th. It's unaspected and retrograde. So, the ancient astrologers would be saying, oh, it's got no dignity and all the rest of it. It is a little bit wild. So it's in Gemini. So it's a bit wild. It's, I think I've explained this before. It's just like, what can I learn next? I need to know everything. It's just this never ending appetite for learning and knowledge, but also growing up. So Gemini was being a bit younger then as I was sort of growing up. Such hope. Always, always, always the best of people, life, the world. Everything's going to be all right. It was incredible. It's so pure, and it's just like, don't worry, we'll win the lottery tomorrow. It's got that kind of feel to it, this unaspected, wild Jupiter. And you can imagine that's not particularly realistic. And so I learned some hard lessons growing up, that life is not always going to be as hopeful as I thought it would be. Other people that I've seen with Sun conjunct, maybe like Sun conjunct Jupiter, have been very lucky. Very, very lucky, winning things, for sure. But also within that, because of Jupiter's power to expand, sometimes they've had like real problems eating, just eating everything and really gaining a lot of weight. Sun Jupiter, Jupiter expanding everything that there is to do with the sun, which can be your health as well. So I've seen it come across that way. So very, very lucky and very, very jovial, but kind of like looking like
Mm.
looking like Jupiter too. It's kind of like it doesn't have any. So we Sun Saturn. Okay, so we're going to expect somebody to be like doing the accounts all the time and putting up the boundaries and probably on quite a restricted diet. Or Moon Saturn or something like that. But Sun Jupiter, it's just like, what boundaries? There's none.
Yeah, they need
I'm
to
a big planet.
learn how to set
Yeah,
limits.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I know people with that configuration,
yeah.
and what surprised me was that they were so optimistic. They were like they took life easily despite problems, and very relaxed, like
Yeah,
trusting everything. And sometimes I realized how were not aware of things, as if they
mm,
were just in their own bubbles with their
yeah,
own world, and and sometimes they had difficult times, but
yeah.
they were happy.
You bounce
Yeah,
back, which with if you've got Jupiter sort of strong or working strongly like that, there's this bounce back ability. You can get knocked down, but you will bounce back, because, as I say, the rain clouds gather, they come down. Uh, you're a little bit, as you say, in a bubble, so you're a bit impervious to things. Although I think it can get very sad still, but you do. I think it brings resilience. So it's not, maybe it's the hope that brings the resilience, because it's a naturally kind of like sunny outlook. If you've got Jupiter, a connection, or I don't know, on the first house on the ascendant, but it can also be this. So I know somebody, Jupiter on the ascendant, it's just like this real thirst for knowledge, and particularly philosophy, as well. But it can get very, very visionary. If it's, let's say, if it's on an angle, Jupiter can get very, very visionary, and then that's quite hard to ground in reality, because it's the ninth house ruler, so it is a house of visions, it is the house of long distance travel, and that could be long distance travel to other words, because Jupiter's limitless. Saturn brings the limits, Jupiter's limitless, and I think that can be a struggle, because it's everybody says everything in moderation in life, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, keep a balance. And if Jupiter's prominent, balance goes out the window. It can't balance. It's not interested in it. It's interested in going over the top. And
So,
yeah, so it's hopeful,
so
but it can be ridiculously hopeful.
yeah, but there's a negative
Yeah,
aspect as well, because
yeah,
it could be too optimistic, naive, not realistic,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes focusing on the future, thinking that the future is going to be better, and not addressing reality, the present problems.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think I agree with you that there should be some moderation with this aspect, because otherwise, I think this is connected to in traditional astrology, when a planet is exalted, is the
mm-hmm.
same, no? Thinking that you're
Yeah, yeah,
over the top, you can achieve that, and maybe is you cannot, or you're not considering many things. So yeah, just a bit is okay, but then you need always, or you also need Saturn
yeah,
to
yeah.
make to take advantage of it, or to make a good use of it, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something called blind faith, and I think if you've got Jupiter on an angle conjunct the Sun or something, there's this blind faith that everything will be all right. This naive optimism, as I say, I certainly had that growing up, and I used to get brought down to earth regularly by my son. I guess it would bring me down, and it was a bit of the thing is, it was a bit of a shock, and still continues to be a shock, that the world is not this most marvelous and wonderful place. So although I've learned some lessons, I think with this unaspected, pretty wild Jupiter that is rampaging around my chart, it's still like a planet that's in exaltation. So maybe this is because it's unaspected.
Mm.
It's strong, although it's in I don't know, full detriment. It's not in its best place in Gemini, but it's still acting in that very, very what can be naive, hopeful way. But maybe that's quite a nice thing to have sometimes as well, because my glass is usually half full, which is a good thing. And I was just thinking of something. So we've got Jupiter in Cancer at the moment. So I don't know if you've seen that, Ollie, but quite a lot of astrologers have waxed lyrical about Jupiter in Cancer. It's exalted there. It's so it's really strong in Cancer, and this is going to be wonderful for family life and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just not so sure. I know that Jupiter's got this other side to it. I know that it can just expand. So I think Jupiter in Cancer.
I think it's expanding the price of properties. That is what it's doing right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
okay, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
the downside
yeah,
of it. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and depending on obviously what placements you've got in your chart, I just think you need to. Yes, Jupiter brings that hope, but it also, I remember learning this very early on in astrology studies, it can also just expand whatever it's touching. So if you've got a difficult situation going on of some kind and you get a Jupiter transit, that can just make it bigger. I also have seen and have talked to quite a few astrologers about this. Jupiter's often involved when people die, which is a really interesting thought and something I was thinking about earlier today, because nobody knows what happens when you die. There's lots and lots of stuff out there talking about it, but nobody actually knows.
Well, there are some people who know. Many people know what happens
Yeah,
because they experience near-death
near-death
experiences.
experiences. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got a book here called Journey of the Souls by Michael Newton, which is talking about, it reports lots of case studies where he's put people under hypnotism for this. But Jupiter's often active at the time of death. And I was wondering about that today, in a nice way, in a really, really sort of
Mhm.
benevolent Jupiterian way, if this isn't about the great big journey
Yeah.
that the soul is about to
Getting.
undertake. And it's a hopeful one.
Hmm. Yeah, I've, I think I can't remember if I learned it from the traditional astrology course. I can't
Mm.
remember, but yes, I think it was Jupiter, which what you mentioned, no? That it was denoting the idea of passing away, and I think that the death was a benevolent death,
Yeah,
so probably not as well when a person suffered.
yeah.
And it makes sense of with the idea of getting a higher, expanding yourselves, expanding your consciousness,
Mm.
because many witnesses have talked about the tunnel, the light, that they experience something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said before, expands the good or the bad things, because those people who were committing suicide or were on drugs and they died, um, sometimes they had difficult experiences when they died because all those negative states of mind. So it was like um, it was faster, when they died.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
We've
So I
got
think
some
it's
last.
definitely be there. We've got questions, have we? Okay.
We've got some comments. Well,
Uh-huh.
let me read one which is related to this topic, and then another one which is about a different topic. Michael Newton actually has 3 books out about the journey of the soul on the other side, and this is where the draconic chart comes into play.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we like the draconic charts, don't we, Ollie?
Yes, but the draconic chart is more before we come here, and
Yes.
it's
Oh,
about
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
about
so
the past experiences we had and
yeah,
the soul and the meaning and the purpose. Yes.
yeah. It's kind of like so. What we like to do is to look at the natal chart first, and if maybe I was seeking something a bit else, or my client was seeking something a bit else, I might go to the draconic chart. But I wouldn't want to view either chart in isolation, because I'm looking to see what contacts the draconic chart has got with the natal chart, or whatever charts I'm using there. I mean, it could be synastry, it could be transits, could be, just a ton of combinations that you can use there.
Mm.
But the important thing is not to isolate one or the other, because you're probably looking at the nodes in your birth chart to see, okay, so this is in theory the south node, what you're coming in with, north node, what you're going to translate it into, how you're going to grow your path to fulfill your soul's purpose. And then your draconic chart, which is about the soul's purpose. And so you need to just have a look and see what you're doing on the everyday, down to earth natal chart that's tied into your draconic. And we could take the theme that we've got today, hope, and see what that might be like. I mean, it's quite an interesting way of looking at it. You can see what hope is like. In my chart, I said to you, I've got that unaspected Jupiter. Well, I'm going to have that still in a draconic chart, but it will be in a different sign. So it might not be in quite such a inquisitive, gosh, I've got to read everything kind of Gemini sign. I can't remember where it is actually, but yeah. So I wouldn't ever, just to respond, I wouldn't ever read either I wouldn't read a draconic chart in isolation.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense with the
Yeah,
natal chart.
yeah.
And the second clarification, Michael Newton does write about the soul's life on the other side, not about previous lives.
Yes, yeah, yes, he does. I've just got his case studies there, and I've been reading a few of them.
And there's a very nice documentary by a person who was a Brazilian channeler. The film is in Brazilian and it's called Nosso Lar, which means our home. So it's in
What's it called again,
Portuguese.
Ollie?
Nosso, Nosso,
Yeah,
and then Lar.
not so long.
And yes, Nosso Lar.
Okay,
And
and that
it,
means
well,
other life, does it?
our home,
Our home. Okay,
our home.
okay, that's lovely to know.
And it's quite
I'm learning some
interesting.
Portuguese tonight.
Yeah, no, it's close to the Spanish words. It's very interesting because it describes like how a person when a person dies, their soul goes to another dimension, another planet, and sometimes they need to spend some time on a kind of hospital just to heal their wounds or heal whatever was needed to be healed,
Mm-hmm.
and then they spend some time there and before deciding going back to the earth, they make like the plan with other souls and they make like the agreement. You're gonna be my mother, you're gonna be my father, you're gonna be my the person who ate me in the previous life. And the aim is to overcome some challenges with difficult experiences or to develop or whatever.
Mm.
And well, I found that documentary really, really interesting.
Mm. Mm. It sounds it. Um, I will try and have a look at that um,
Mm,
in my busy weeks. But I like the idea of that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read everything in this book so far, um, but he does talk about how people recall their experiences. He does use hypnotism to get his clients to talk, and the common themes that come through are this association with a bright light, and about this extremely warm and friendly welcome for
mm,
most people. He does say if somebody's died in difficult circumstances, it takes a bit longer. It's not punishment. There's no punishment. It doesn't exist. But the lessons that need to be learned, because presumably they weren't learned on the earth, they take a bit longer. As I say, it's not a form of punishment, but it's just an extra bit of
mm,
attention, an extra few layers that you have to go through. And people talk about time kind of becoming irrelevant here, but passing through sort of certain stages. And through extreme benevolence, um, kindness, greeted by people that you know and are familiar with, but then kind of like joining a pool of not always people that you know, but people that you're going to learn from and conversations that you're going to have. And similar to what you just said there, so probably trying to organise the next move. You know,
mm.
what you're gonna do
Yeah,
next. You know, what you're gonna do next. What's um,
yeah.
your next job? Um, yeah, I think it's very interesting. We're going to go. One of our shows is going to be about astrology and dreams, and remind me to tell you about a dream that I had that was around this.
Okay.
Won't go into it tonight. We'll leave it as a little cliffhanger.
Mm,
But a dream that I had was very interesting, and it was 2 nights before my mum passed, um,
mm,
which it was just so real. Actually, no, you often have dreams that are real. I'm not going to go into talking about dreams. But this one was different to a real dream. It was different to a vivid dream. It felt far more like a message. That's all I can say. We'll come in.
mm.
We can come back to that
Okay.
when we talk about astrology and dreams. But yeah, I think Jupiter around at the time of death is symbolic of hope.
Mm,
You know, and if we
yes.
believe in life after death, then it's this is life here is kind of like not nothing, but it's just like a part of what is a much, much bigger picture. Nothing
Mm.
to be scared of, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense how um it makes sense thinking about how Jupiter was transiting our lives or is transiting our lives, and
Mm.
how every time we are hit by Jupiter, something of about our consciousness changes, and we discover more things.
Mm.
Like we we get a higher notion of the concept of ourselves. So we
Mm.
change over time, expanding ourselves, maybe doing something different, and and learning. So it makes sense with the idea of Jupiter also as the final lesson in our lives
Yeah.
is with the
On
yeah.
that note, I think mine will be writing books. And when I had a last year Jupiter to the midheaven in Gemini, I got two books published. Not one, two, because
Mm,
we've got two. We've got two here. So it's two. So they associate Jupiter with the ninth house, which is associated with publishing. It was a beautiful astrology. It really was. Just Jupiter came across, and the books were being published. In fact, the final one is just finally out today. And I think Jupiter returns are interesting. Do they bring? I think they can probably be quite busy years. Your Jupiter returns, because again, it's just going to bring a lot of stuff, whether that's good, bad, or both. It's just going to bring a lot. Jupiter. So Jupiter return years. So what's that, Ollie? About every 14 years or so?
every 12 years,
12
goodbye Jupiter
years.
return.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Sorry, yeah, my math. That can be a busy time. So 12, 24, 36, 48,
mm.
60. Yeah, yeah. Jupiter return
Yeah,
years.
and
Busy.
for me, it's interesting that after each Jupiter return, we are not that naive because a cycle ended, and we try to be a bit more realistic, or we are more we are wiser somehow
Yeah,
with experience, and I like that idea of getting more mature, wiser, a bit more down to earth. And
yeah.
you mentioned Jupiter in the midheaven, and it's what a coincidence because I've got also Jupiter in the midheaven. I haven't written any book yet.
Yet. What sign's that in, Ollie?
It's in Capricorn. So
Okay,
yeah,
so you got
it's
yeah. Okay, so that's yeah, that's really nice for building something. So you may not have written a book yet, but you may be building something there, like, you know, something hopeful. How do you interpret Jupiter conjunct with heaven in Capricorn then?
well for me it's like faith is really challenged.
Mm-hmm.
It's as if I get that feeling, but it's difficult to be manifested, or it takes a lot of time.
Oh, because of
So
Saturn.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, and it's in Capricorn. Capricorn is in its fall, so
yeah.
it's not that powerful.
But
For
as
me,
you
it's
get
like
older, it will be. As you
yes,
get older,
yes. I hope
yeah,
so. I think so.
yeah, I think so. As you see it all the time with like strong Capricorn, Saturn stuff, it just takes time. You just have to
Yeah, yeah.
be patient. So you kind of got a battle of the giants going on there. You've got, the Jupiter and the Saturn, and Jupiter, as we've said, is wanting to expand everything,
Mm.
and Saturn is saying no, not ready yet. you know?
I've got that experience. Uh, I experienced that in astrology.
Yeah,
Yeah, getting to know, learning a lot, spending lots of years, and never is the moment to just take the jump, no? To take the step.
yeah,
And I think, well, no, not. I don't want that anymore. I want to experience that. And when I tried, and when I did yeah, for example, when I did some workshops or when practice with new techniques, I was surprised with the results and also with some reactions of people. For example, today, just one friend told me about. everything you told me about that from this moment I would feel better is happening. What you told me about last week, it happened as well. So sometimes it's as if I didn't believe what I said, because
Yeah,
sometimes I'm not that rational, I'm more intuitive. So I think that's Jupiter in Capricorn as well. It's difficult to
yeah.
believe what you
I,
see
so
that,
it's,
and
yeah,
despite that, you don't believe it somehow at the beginning of this process. You
yeah,
know what I
because
mean?
that, I do, because you, it's like we were talking about. So Jupiter is, it's, it rules Sagittarius, Pisces. So it's got fire and water elements, but the fire is about the belief and the hope and that inspiration.
Mm.
But Saturn will dampen that down. Um, so the lesson there is about having more self belief, which I do think, not self belief, but more hope. Um,
And trust,
and it
trust.
will take time. So there's a whole I don't know if you've heard of this guy called Albert Bandura. He's like a famous psychologist, and he talks about something called self-efficacy, which is belief in capability. And
Mm.
the scientific research behind that is that if you believe in your ability, you will do better, basically. I
Yeah,
mean, I use it in school.
yeah,
And
it's
so,
true.
yeah, so it is true. So it is about like that self belief. And Jupiter, really on the midheaven, it's just lovely. It's wonderful. It's so hopeful, and it's magnanimous and jolly. But that Saturn's keeping it down. But you'll find that when, as you get a bit older, and older and older, that balance, that moderation between Saturn and Jupiter is just wonderful. It serves you very well, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good combination because it's combining the skills, the mastery, and the
Yeah,
knowledge of Saturn with a different knowledge from Jupiter,
yeah,
and the faith and the belief and expansion. Expansion. So I think it will work well, but I think also that it takes time. What you
yeah,
said, no?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's just dampening down the hope a bit all the time with Saturn, but it's saying, as you say, sharpen your tools, learn your craft,
Mm.
make sure that you are the expert here, and then you will
Mm.
feel comfortable enough to feel that confidence. But you've come through a few years, Ollie, and I think that you are, if my personal opinion, professional opinion, is that you are very refined in your craft, and the Jupiter just needs to come out and shine a little bit more there. Then, if that's what you feel, because the Jupiter
Thank
is,
you. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, your stuff.
And the funny thing is how it played out at the very beginning. Because I remember when I started with astrology, it was such a strong feeling. I had to do it.
Mm,
I had to learn, and it was like an inner call. I had to, have to. I am passionate. So I think that's how Jupiter called me somehow, and it was leading me towards this. No,
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm.
Saturn there should also enable you to build your business, because Saturn can be very constructive, structure, Capricorn, ambitious, and likes to make those solid foundations. It will give you the business structure that you need for your Jupiter, for your vision, for your
Mm.
calling, um, because it's the midheaven, so it's your vocation, it's your calling.
Mm.
It's some people are very lucky, and their vocation, their calling is their work, but not everybody can be in the same boat, and sometimes that can change, and you have to be a public persona, but you're not quite doing your calling yet. But so
Yeah.
I think it's in the stars that your business has to be this calling, which is your Jupiter, and you feel that
Mm.
um, very
Yeah.
strongly. Yeah.
And you touch one thing which makes sense when I think about other people who are even older than me, that I know what my passion is or what I want to do in life or what kind of job I want to have
Mm,
as an astrologer, whereas other people don't know it. And probably that's because of Jupiter. So I
mm,
was thinking that maybe if people pay attention to where the Jupiter is, is
mm,
probably where they're going to be more tuned to their selves somehow. It's gonna be easier for them to recognize
mm,
what maybe makes them happier, or where obviously depending on their sign is gonna behave in some way or different. But I think is where they are going to also give something to others, and others can benefit from it, because as it is a benevolent planet, it's about offering, is
yeah,
generous.
yeah. It
So people
really,
are
yeah,
gonna get something that they're gonna appreciate it, or people are or this Jupiter is going to help others
yeah.
somehow.
You're absolutely right. The people that I know who have been Sun Jupiter, who are Sun Jupiter, are some of the most generous people, big givers. Yeah, yeah. Um, very, very generous people. Yeah, it's so interesting. So, what about the 11th house then? That's hopes,
Yes, yeah.
hopes and wishes as well. So I mean, yeah, we're taught that 11th house is networks, groups, friends, but there is this hope and wishes side to it, which I think I'm guilty of sometimes, maybe overlooking a bit with the 11th house.
Why do you are guilty?
Oh, did I say guilty then?
No, you said that you are guilty when you look at the 11th house.
Yeah, I'm guilty of not always remembering that it's about hopes and wishes, the
Ah,
11th
okay,
house.
yeah, I
Yeah, yeah,
understand what you,
yeah. So I
yeah,
always feel guilty. I've got Saturn, on
okay.
I got Saturn on an angle, Ollie. It's gonna happen, Uh, that's what it does. Saturn on the angles, but it's not always my first thought. But there's so much to learn and remember with astrology,
Mm.
that sometimes it's, you can be constant. I have been constantly learning it for so many decades, but there's always something that you forget, need to remember, go back over, listen to another lecture, and come back to. And this week, I've done a little bit of refresher on the houses and the money meanings, and there was the 11th house about hopes and wishes. And also, if you use sort of a bit of traditional astrology here, and you take the 10th house as your mum, as the mother, then the 11th
Mm-hmm.
house could be your mother's finances as a
Mm-hmm.
turned second house, which is quite interesting to think about. But I don't know if it's played out for you in either charts that you've done, or anything. I'm going to watch out for it a bit more.
Yes, I like this house because when we see the difficult aspects or difficult parts of one chart, we can also compensate it. No, we can
Ah,
have a look at it and say, okay, this you're gonna have this difficult experience, but this other part can help you, or how it can help you. No? Because, for example, I remember, I think it was, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was a person who was single, and the person, yes, and the person had Aquarius in her 11th house, and I suggested, why don't you try to go to a place where there are more people, like a because I think she's got the Mars, and for example, a gym, or maybe you can try networks or apps to meet someone, because then that place is gonna activate that planet. And if
yeah,
she's got Mars, so she's gonna meet someone there. So I think it's important also to consider the 11th house, not only for that part for meeting someone, but obviously for other questions, other concerns of your life,
yeah,
because it can help you. And then considering the house rulers
yeah,
aspects, yes, we can
yeah,
get more information. Yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting.
As I say, I think it's something that I haven't thought about too much. Now it's on my astro map, if you like, um, from that point of view, and not just the groups and the friendships point of view of hopes and wishes. And just in my own chart, I've got Cancer on the 11th house cusp, and I guess, yeah, I mean, not that I thought about it all my life, but certainly there was a very strong wish to have a family and children. That would have been a hope and a wish for me. But I'm going to just give it a little bit more airtime.
Mm.
It's sometimes hard, isn't it? Because there's just so much that when you're reading for a client, you're looking at maybe an hour or 90 minutes with a natal reading or something like that. It's just like there's no time, is it, to talk about the whole life that is in
Obviously,
front
you
of
cannot
you.
talk about everything. I
Yeah,
remember my first sessions, I was a bit um too pumped, or it was because I offered even 4 sessions analyzing every single aspect from their charts. And then I thought, wow, this is just for people who are really, really into getting to know themselves.
yeah,
And most people are not on that level. Most people are ready for 1 or 2 sessions, but not to analyze every single aspect, because
yeah,
that's psychotherapy.
yeah,
And I thought, wow, if I want to get more people, I have to adapt to different um, needs
yeah, yeah.
from
I mean,
clients.
most people come to astrologers when they have got a worry or a problem to do with jobs, relationships, money. I mean,
Yeah, a
it's
specific topic. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
indeed.
So sort of stuff. So you know which houses are going to be being buzzed at that moment. And in fact, if you use a consultation chart, you can see what the consultation is going to be about before anybody even sort of steps through your screen or door or however you
Mm,
do it. But it's it's so much information. I tend to, and I think I'll probably tap into your what you do here, your channeling, is when I'm looking at a chart and working, the messages can come through. Yes, I mean, I usually start just with the elements. Because also, if somebody doesn't know astrology very well, you've got to break it down into a language that is understandable and not use all the jargon that we're talking about, like
mm,
on our chit chat show. But so it's got to be really understandable. So I'll probably start with fire, earth, air, water, something like that, and then move to luminaries and angles. But by the time you cover that, there's an hour and a half. An hour and a half's gone there because what you'll find is
yeah,
that
that's why I think that you need to
yeah,
adapt to the person's needs, because
yeah,
sometimes they don't want to know so
yeah,
many things, or it depends on the person, or maybe they are mm, focused, or they are interested on 2 topics, and they go into depth with
yeah,
them and not other charts.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It depends. I
Yeah, and it is.
usually
That's why it's a dialogue rather than a
yeah.
prediction. But I think I always do go to predictive. I always do go to the transits. I'm always looking at the forecasting side of things because it's important to know. As we started, when we started the chat show tonight, we're talking about hope. It's important to know what is coming around the corner, what kinds of energies are available, and how and the strategies, and to give as an astrologer,
Mm,
you're going to give the strategies to to manage those energies or ride the wave of them, or depending on what they are,
yeah.
so that hope is integral. I do think people come and see an astrologist maybe because they've lost a little bit of hope there, and they need to know that there is an end period
Yeah.
because that could give back the hope, and that's what the transits do. So I think inevitably astrologers go into transits, you know.
Yeah, so astrology is going to give hope, no?
Yeah,
Because mainly they is gonna give them understanding, and it's gonna make them yeah, they're gonna be quiet. They after this consultation, learning what's happening to them, or maybe understanding what is about to happen on the
mm,
process.
mm,
So, and also what I mentioned about giving them some help with using the chart or even the transit, how they can use this energy, or what areas they can make a good use out of it so that they can benefit from that. because
Yeah.
sometimes they are not aware of
Yeah.
the energies, the scenarios, the helps, and and then we say, okay, for example, I remember an astrology teacher who mentioned that he had a very good moon, which was in his life. He experienced meeting female figures who helped him to
Hmm.
promote his
Hmm.
business. So he knew the areas, he knew
Hmm.
the partners or collaborators who were going to help him. And
Yeah.
I think that's for the leading astrology. It's about okay, we've got these objects in life or these characters. So use them because you can benefit from it and you can make a good use of it.
Yeah. I think that's what I mean by strategies. We've got the roadmap. We can read the map, and so we can say where the what the influences are likely to be and whereabouts in life they're likely to be through transit. And with that information, I mean, it's not predicting the future. I need to come away from that as an astrologer. That's not what it's about. But with the information about the energies that are available to you, it's getting people to think about how they can apply that in the best possible way. Um, and that's it. It's interesting because it gives you some control
Mhm.
over what's happening and some
And
knowledge, and that's invaluable. That gives hope, that knowledge and control. And I think it takes away the feeling that everything's being done to you. So this brings us back to the destiny and free will. And I have, so I think that the map is destiny, and this falls for you. This map falls for you, but there's no harm in consulting an astrologer who can advise you as to the tools and strategies that you need for the energy. It's kind of like yeah, it's got the cross of, so astrology's got the cross of mystical and
mm,
practical
yeah.
there, or mystical and helpful. We're reading maps. Those maps feel heaven sent, if you like. And certainly, with horror, it's just incredible, that moment that you get. It's just like,
Mm.
and it's working all the time. So these planets and the blah, 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 all of it, the asteroids, the wheels, all working all the time. Um, you
Yeah,
know
and
that it's
another
yeah,
important topic is the timing, because
yeah,
most people don't know when they have
yeah,
to set up a business or when is a good moment to promote something.
yeah,
And obviously, is when we look at the sky now with or we know the transit, we know wow, it's something very basic. We need to know when is a
yeah,
time to do something
yeah. So
because
with
it's
yeah,
not always a good time to do anything. We need to
no. So
wait
we've
for
got
the right moment
we've
to
got
take action.
Saturn moving forwards today, Ollie. Mercury moving forwards on Sunday. Then the others start to sort of, Neptune, I think, is mid 13th of December, something around there. It starts to move forwards. But Uranus is next year. Jupiter,
Yes.
it's got a long retrograde at the moment, and it would depend on what you were doing and what your needs are. But electional astrology is something that I really enjoy. Um, but it depends. You can't always have everything. I always look for the moon to be happy, but that's yeah. If you're launching something, it depends what it is, but you can pick the best time. And
You
yeah, we
cannot
can do
pick
that.
the best time many times, but you can pick a good time
Yeah,
because with all the elements you can adjust it and you can get the most out of it on that
yeah.
during that
You can,
period.
yeah, you
So
can minimize
that's
the
something.
risk. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
So,
important as
so
well.
astrologers, seeing an astrologer is like doing a risk assessment. Been talking about those this week, but it is a bit like that, isn't it? It's like, so if I do it here, this is going to work, but that might not. But that's your best time for that. You can't get the perfect time. I agree with you. Perfect is
But
maybe
it's
exists
difficult. Maybe
occasionally.
there are
Yeah.
some days which are marvelous, but we don't always have a marvelous sky.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
that's the reality.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's another reason to come and see an astrologer too. So to maximise the success of what you're going to do, and again, give you hope, Ollie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we are on time now. So
Yeah.
next week we will talk about astrology and dreams.
I think so. I think that's quite a nice place to go to. So we're going to scurry about in the 12th house for a bit
Perfect.
and sleep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'll be good, Ollie.
Okay, so we say goodbye to the audience
Okay.
and
So
hope to
say,
see you next week to the
yeah.
audience.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.